Reality check man from your device, you know it's unique one aromatic realistic TV. Anyway, today my viewers and subscribers at home and who are living in the diaspora abroad. It was a brilliant interview by Colin Bell over on Portlandspice TV, where the leader of the opposition sit down and just being truthful. Not telling in a lie, but just being truthful. He touched on a lot of, issues, even about his past. He touched on dairy bunting and golden, where the three youth come together, form a company. It was successful. Scotia see it and love it off and then sell it to Scotia and make millions off of it. He also tell her that he was not rich, but he was privileged in a way where his father was a professor. He make it clear that at the time his father teaching, being a professor, them the time the professor name they make money. But he was better off than the average man in the street. We hear such man talk about Tapanaris and wealth transfer to Tapanaris. He make it be clear. So he never rub shoulder to shoulder with the Tapanaris them. Him friend and colleagues them are when the youth them in the ghetto and the garrison. Who him broke out time house with and go a dance and all of them thing there. The man make it clear that in 2007 to 2012 when the Jamaica Labour Party win, Bruce Golden, Andrew Holness, Dan Webby, Nigel Clark, and the whole of them wreck the economy. His steps and measure that was put in by his leadership, Dr. Peter Phillips and the Portia Simpson team rescue Jamaica from go over the precipice. So enough things Mark Golden do behind the scene, but he's not a man who like to take praises, brag and boast. So him just kick back. So a lot of things why you see the Jamaica Labour Party, they run pan and they inherit now. The thing when rooted and grounded under Mark Golden, Peter Phillips and the Portia Simpson led administration. So without any further ado, me now go take up the whole thing because listen me, this is an interview that need to be watched. My viewers and subscribers, share this so people can see it out there and know the work what Mark Golden have done behind the scene. What nobody don't know about. And as I said, is not a man who go brag and boast. These things need to broadcast. These things need to share to the globe so people can see and see the difference between both men. You have one with integrity, class, and character. And you have one who have no shame, no ambition, and is a thief. That's the difference between the two. Anyway, take it away, my viewers and subscribers.
Let me invite to the studios of Portlandspice TV my leader. Because we tell the truth, I'm not telling nobody about my balance. This is my leader and the opposition leader of Jamaica, president of the People's National Party. Good morning and welcome, Honorable Mark Jefferson Golden.
Morning, Sir Colin, comrade. And I appreciate your openness and transparency on that issue. So people know where you stand. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as people know.
But that's the ethics of journalism, comrade leader.
Indeed. Unfortunately, it is not always practiced as it should.
Can I tell you? So much of them come and say them neutral, them the balance. I don't believe that we have no balance Jamaican. Everybody have a side. PNP or GLP.
Well, I just want to say greetings to the Portlandspice Massive on this live. And, I'm sure we have people from both P and no P on, so enough respect to each and every one. And it's a pleasure to be here, Colin.
Welcome, comrade leader. A number of things I've always wanted to talk to you about. You came into the political scene, thrust into politics as a businessman. And when you became leader of the party, you were trailing miserably behind the bro god, the Honorable Prime Minister. And it was a case of an unknown in politics. Normally, our leaders come out of people who in the party long time, come up through the ranks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People don't know you, never knew of you.
True.
You are now leading in the polls, so a little more people know a little more about you. What it is that you'd want the people of Jamaica to know about Mark Golding enter into politics to serve this country?
Yeah, I think your analysis is accurate. You know, I became leader in November 2020. And although I'd been in public life from 2007, when I was became an opposition senator, Portia Simpson Miller, Sister P, invited me to be one of the 8 opposition senators in 2007. The Senate is a relatively, low profile political organ in the sense that it's more technocratic, it's more focused on the details of legislation and that kind of thing, which actually suited me well at the time because I'm a lawyer by profession, and I've always been interested in drafting and more on commercial transactions, but it was easy to shift my orientation to the kind of material that comes to Parliament. So I wasn't well known. I was treasurer of the party at one point. I was a spokesperson at one point. And then when we won the elections in 2011, December, I became Minister of Justice. And again, people who follow the politics would know who I was. But the average person out there who's just struggling to survive and doesn't think politics 24/7 probably didn't know, they may have heard the name, but wouldn't really know who I am. So I entered the House of Representatives in 2017 as the MP for South St. Andrew when Omar Davis retired. And I was persuaded really to put myself forward, which was a big move for me because, to be very honest, Colin, I had never seen myself as going the route of becoming a full-fledged politician, I came into this thing relatively late because in 2007, when I became a senator, as I said, I was in my 40s, and before that, my own involvement in politics was really as a supporter, of people who I knew well and who were in the politics. I would lend a hand. I was very interested in it, but I was not active. So when I took that step in 2017, it was a big move for me. And, I'm big on the people of South St. Andrew because they have blessed me with their support and love. And, I respect them to the max. It is the cradle of Jamaican popular music coming out of Trenchtown and its environs. And, I regard that foundation of my political movement then as a very important thing. So 2017, I became an MP. Again, just one of 63 in opposition, not in government at that time. So again, the political class would know, who I was, but the average person didn't. Mm-hmm.
You mean 2007?
2017 is when I became an MP,
2007. Yeah. You were a senator before, right?
Yeah. But
yes.
The Senate thing is a Friday morning, Friday meeting. It's just 21 there.
Right.
It is not it's not the cut and thrust in the same way as representational politics is.
Right.
So 2017 was a big step for me. And then after we contested the 2020 elections and we were badly beaten,
yes.
Dr. Phillips said, well, he was stepping my back. And so there was a vacancy. And my colleagues prevailed on me to put myself forward. So at that point, when I became leader of the party, and it was a contested internal election, which I was the person who was chosen. I came in as a relative unknown in terms of a national profile. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
So when I walk on the road, and everybody would know who I was. You understand me? So I was aware of that. But who I am just a regular person, born and grew in Jamaica. I grew up
Ever dreamed of becoming the Prime Minister of Jamaica before you enter the politics?
Maybe as a teenager, I was interested in politics, and maybe, in the same way that I probably dream of playing cricket for the West Indies or playing football for Jamaica. Maybe I would have said in the political realm that would have been a fantasy at times, but it was never a burning ambition, you know. But it was something I probably had thought about, in one's wildest dreams, so to speak, you know.
And then becoming member of parliament of your constituency, which is a PNP bastion, was pretty easy. Becoming the opposition leader now and challenging for government. Was that a rude awakening of the crassness of the politics at this stage now?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it is a totally different thing. Being the opposition leader or a party leader relative to being a member of parliament, it is a step. It's a large step up from where I was before. Because you become the focus of attention, you become the focus of people's expectations and hopes, and you also become the focus of attack from your opponents. And in the era that we're in now, of pervasive social media and other communication channels, which are really unregulated and where people can say anything they like, informed or uninformed, malignant or honest, you know, it lends itself to a kind of chaotic kind of discourse. So I have felt, I think, the brunt of that, you know, and so I had to stand up, you know, and I had to kind of firm up myself and go through. And part of what I've done in doing that is to go on the ground, you know, travel the country, meet people, and just touch flesh, as it were, shake hand, hug up the ladies them and make people kind of feel my vibes. And, you know, it has been a good experience. And as you can see from the polls that you referred to, it is bearing fruit, you know. But your original question was that, you know, I think it was like, who am I, you know? Yes. So I was just saying I'm just a regular Jamaican person, born here, grew here.
Oh, you feel be regular. People say you're rich. People say the Prime Minister was making some statements after people getting wealthy. And there are views out there that he's talking about you getting wealthy.
Okay, so I'm not going to say I haven't been successful in my endeavors when I was in private life. You know, I have been successful. I wasn't born rich. My father was a university professor. And at a time when academics at the University of the West Indies weren't particularly well paid, you know. So although he himself had some resources, he didn't live that life. You know, he lived the life of a regular university professor type person. I grew up on the campus, you know, with the children of other academics, and then next door was Hermitage, which is a low-income community, Augustown below that. Youth them from around those communities and us used to role play football and ride bicycle and, you know, climb tree and all of the things that children do. And then as a teenager now, kind of broke out little, start to dance and I love music. I'm quite a music.
I hear that they used to call you Radigan.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That was really my brethren at UWI campus now, because I used to flex on campus, even though I was not attending UWI at the time. But them you give me that name, you know. So for a good while, that was what I was known as, you know, amongst those friends, you know. So yeah, I mean, so that is why I said I'm a regular person in the sense that how I lived my life as a youngster coming up was, you know, I'm not saying I was in any way suffering, no. You know, I was privileged, yes, but I didn't really move with the privileged class of people. I've never moved with the privileged class of people. I've always moved with my peers on campus and youths from, I would say, from the ghetto, you know, who have, you know, that is how I've always lived my life. But then when I finished university now and started to work, because I was interested in finance and economics, although I was a lawyer, I found myself doing the type of work that generated, you know, a good amount of income for myself and my family at the time. And then, of course, we started DB&G, myself and two other friends, Peter Bunting and Chris Daring. And that was a successful business. It was an investment business, a finance services company. And, you know, it did very well. And eventually we sold it to Scotiabank in 2006. And that gave me some financial security at the time.
That's all of that you mentioned, opposition leader, was in the public.
Yes.
So the
All that
people
is
of
public.
Jamaica know clearly how you make your money.
Yeah, man. My DB&G was a publicly listed company.
Yeah.
So all of its audited financials are published every year, you know, and it has the annual report. It had to file an annual report
So hold
every
on.
year.
You and your brethren them set up a company
Yes.
and it work
Yes.
and it make money
Yes.
and Scotiabank see it and like it
Yes.
and buy it
Yes.
and no make a money.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in every newspaper and every news. So,
yeah. If you go on the internet
like
now,
you see in Bolt,
yeah,
we know how you make your money.
yeah, man, that is exactly right. You know, and even if you go on the internet now and search that transaction, when it's still there, the material is still there, the offering document, the pricing of everything, how much everybody got is all there. So yeah, I mean, it's quite transparent and so on. So, you know, but what that sale and the financial security enabled me to do was to say, yo, all right, so I've had my working career now in the private sector, doing, you know, financial transactions as a lawyer for clients and also as a businessman in DB&G. And we had started Proven in 2010, which is still going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because we had the expertise and we had built a reputation of excellence in the field, we saw an opportunity to establish another one. And 3 years after we sold DB&G to Scotia, we started Proven, which is really a regional company now. It invests across the region. It is in a number of territories in the Caribbean and even beyond. And, you know, although I'm not as involved in it as I was in DB&G, I am still, you know, part of the team that guides it along. So, and that has been a very successful business as well.
But that lead me right into this question, Comrade, and I still want to go back to where you were, but I have to ask you that question.
Sure.
When you become Prime Minister, how you going to deal with those issues?
Right. Well, when I became Minister of Justice, how I dealt with it at that time was I came off of the board that I was on and the committee that I served on. I just recused myself. I went on a leave of absence for the period of my engagement, you know. So I would have to
actively running that.
No, I wasn't involved at all at that stage. For those 4 years, I just take with myself, so to speak. You know, because there are others there who are, you know, who
and when you become Prime Minister, you have to take with yourself from Proven.
Yes, I will have to. And I've done it before and I will do it again. Whatever is required in order to satisfy the public that there is no reason why, you know, of concern in that area, I will do. You know, that is a given.
Like how you and your brethren and it set up DB&G and on a juggle and three youth to deal with them thing and make some money. You think a Prime Minister should be juggling like that while being Prime Minister?
No, I don't think so. Being Prime Minister is a full-time job and you must be focused on that. The only other issues you might have are family-related issues which you can never get away from. You know?
Because as a family man...
Yeah, as a family man.
Right.
Yeah, family is family. But when it comes to work as a Prime Minister, that must be your focus. That's not to say you can't have what I call passive investments. If you have saved money over time and you own some stocks or you own some whatever, you know, that's fine. But to be actively involved in building a business and doing multiple transactions and running 28 bank accounts, not right. Something wrong there.
Actively involved in buying stocks while being Prime Minister? You think the Prime Minister should have buy stocks at that time?
No, I don't. I don't think the Prime Minister should be active in the markets trading. No. You know, if you have a portfolio, you either just leave it as it is, or if it's a personal portfolio, or you can put it into some kind of blind trust where it's managed by other people and they have full discretion over it and you have no say for the period of that while you're in public life. You can't be, because every time you step into the marketplace as Prime Minister, there's a potential conflict of interest. Because you have agencies that ultimately report to you that will have an impact on the businesses that you're investing in or selling. So it is, and that's why this whole way in which this government operates is problematic, because they engage in as if they're private citizens while they're running the country. And when I say private citizens, doing the things that people have no responsibility to the public are doing. And that is a problem.
All right, so let's go back to proven. I don't want to be all over the place, but
Yes.
I want to hear about you before I go into the politics, because we have to talk a little of the politics. But the things that people don't know about you, people are speculating, and they are saying that Proven is not a Jamaican company. Talk to us about that.
As I said, Proven is a regional business. So it has some business in Jamaica that it does. It has a securities dealer, wealth management company here. It also has done some real estate development here. But it does it owns a manufacturing business in Barbados. It has a banking interest in Cayman and St. Lucia. It is a business that's both in the financial and real sectors. The main real sector activity that it does is, as I said, manufacturing. And it manufactures animal feed and cooking oil and those things in Barbados. It also does real estate development, not just in Jamaica, elsewhere. And it does financial services. That's what it does.
Where's your head office?
The head office is in St. Lucia. It was established from day one as a St. Lucia-based operation.
And you do other business in St. Lucia?
Yeah, we have a bank in St. Lucia as well. Yeah.
And listeners and viewers, remember, Mark Jefferson Golden is coming into politics as a businessman. The fact that you're not a career politician, does that affect your ability to lead the People's National Party?
I think it gives me a perspective which is valuable. You know, I'm somebody who knows what it takes to be successful in business and how to run a successful business. And I've had a lot of experience in managing businesses through all type of crises. From the 90s when there was a financial sector meltdown through the 2008 global financial crisis and many things in between. So I'm not a career politician. I'm primarily a lawyer. That is my core competence. I'm a commercial and corporate lawyer. But I have a long standing exposure and understanding of finance because of the type of work I've done. And I think that's an asset. That will be an asset to Jamaica. I think it's an asset to the PNP because it's part of what I have brought to the table is, you know, managing the party in the way we manage it now, you know, which is, as you've seen, bearing fruit. So, you know, it is, to my mind, the country needs people who have experience and expertise to run it. Why do you think Mr. Holness draw for Nigel Clark? Because he knew that, you know, that was a big gap in his team that he needed to try and fill. And of course, that gap was opened again when Nigel decided to cut. But
so you it has not been filled now?
Well, no, they've attempted to fill it now. And the person who's filled it in favor, you know, is competent in the field of finance. She's a very well qualified person in that era. But of course, as a politician and as Minister of Finance, it's less about technical skill, you know, and more about communications and interpersonal skills. Now, the jury is out on whether she has that. I don't think she has that personally, having seen how she operates. Whereas I think Mr. Clark, Dr. Clark, was a skilled propagandist in his own right, you know, and brought that to the table in carrying the message for his party quite effectively.
Let's talk a little bit about finance, comrade leader, and where Jamaica is right now in managing the finances of this country. I want to start at 2011, where the PNP came back in office after the GLP had crashed the economy. This is a area, this is a period of time that has not been discussed. And some of us in the media are also saying that the PNP may be at fault by not bringing forward that period of time when the government speaks of what they have done with the economy. Because coming out of 2007 to 2011, we saw where the multilaterals had kicked us out of the market. The IMF would not talk to Jamaica. We couldn't get a loan. We are aware of the struggles that Dr. Peter Phillips and the Most Honorable Portia Simpson Miller went through. But a lot of people keep forgetting that you were an integral part of the team. Tell us about what happened and how we brought back the Jamaican economy.
Thank you for that. All right. So I think the context is very important. Bear in mind that during the period from 1989 to 2007, when the People's National Party was in government. First with Michael Manley for his second stint as Prime Minister. Not the second term, because he had 2 terms in the 70s, but the second era as Prime Minister. And then P.J. Patterson after that, and then briefly Portia Simpson-Miller at the end. During that period, which the JLP have done their best to style in a particular way, the country really changed significantly. So the economy that we have now, which is what we call an open economy, where we don't have foreign exchange controls. Anybody can save in US, keep them US. If they want to travel, them can go out, send money, go abroad or receive it. Is a PNP to that. We used to have licensing for everything in this country. You know, if you want to import anything, you have to go to the trade board and apply for a license. Exporting, you need an export license. We deregulated much of that. So we created an environment where business could flourish, because it was at that time understood that the private sector and private initiative has to be the engine of growth. But there's a role for government, both as a regulator, to make sure that the bad business practices are dealt with by the state, and also what I call a catalytic role. In other words, stepping in where opportunities exist, but the private sector will not go there because it's too challenging for them to sort of create an environment, put in the necessary investment, maybe in infrastructure, for example, that will enable private capital to come in and build on that. So that 18 years was really created the type of economy that Jamaica has. And it was successful. If you check it out, by 2007, poverty was single digit in Jamaica. When Michael Manley took office in 1989, poverty was high. I don't remember the specific number, but it was over 20%. By the end of the 18 years, it was, I think, 9% and heading down.
2007,
The unemployment was single digit as well.
Yes.
The country had built up some decent reserves,
yes,
etc. But it was 18 years, and 18 years is a long time for one party to rule. And the country said, look, we'll try the JLP now.
GDP was 113.8%.
Yeah, well, the debt to GDP ratio was in that region, correct. Now, JLP came in, there was a global financial crisis. Them couldn't manage that. They ran to the IMF. They signed an agreement with the IMF. The IMF was very generous with them and front-loaded, in other words, put a lot of resources in place up front, but on the basis of certain commitments that the government made to restructure certain things so that, you know, that the economy wouldn't get itself into this problem again that they found themselves in.
Right.
Them couldn't cross it. They abandoned the program. They didn't pass any tests. Jamaica was in the mud in terms of in the international financial community. The Bank of Jamaica had to be advancing money to the government, which it's not supposed to do, to pay bills. And they lost the election in 2011. And there was a whole Dudos business as well and all of that. So we inherited a situation where the debt of the country had gone up to 147% of GDP, where the IMF program had collapsed. Jamaica had no access to international credit. It was a crisis. We were on the precipice of going over into a very difficult time where, you know, God knows what would have happened if we hadn't pulled it together. And the beauty of it was Portia Simpson-Miller, as Prime Minister, was somebody who the people of Jamaica felt had their best interests at heart. Yes. And they were prepared to undergo a difficult period of rectification of those problems, fixing those problems with her leadership. Because them say, well, since Andrew Holness did say in 2011 election that it was bitter medicine was coming, I better them get it from Mama than from him. Right?
Yeah, because so, Mama give medicine easier than Papa.
You don't know. So Peter Phillips, who was a skillful finance minister, managed the situation well, and we were able to pass every test. My role at that time as Minister of Justice was I was in charge of the legislation of the government. I chaired the legislation committee of cabinet.
To restructure all these things that you just spoke to us about, moving out, getting the thing business friendly.
Exactly, and getting the tax system functioning right, so you had revenues to manage the debt problem.
So hold on, opposition leader.
Yeah.
This present, the old tax system was fixed then.
Yeah.
And you was in charge of that.
Absolutely.
That's why the government now can collect so much revenue.
It has been a tremendous success. What happened? We restructured the tax system. We eliminated all the million of different types of incentives, created one, what we call omnibus tax incentive that any business can get. The employer tax credit, which means if you employ people and you pay your statutories, you get that as a credit against your income tax within certain limits. We also incentivized, we gave the deductions, tax deductions for investment in research and development, which hadn't been possible before. We introduced a production incentive where people can import production inputs that you can't buy here and you need to import without paying duty. So we created the tax environment that now exists. And we also dealt with the whole revenue collection side of things to streamline that. We introduced a new tax software in the tax system to make that more efficient. And let me tell you, the thing has worked tremendously well. Because if you look at it, without imposing any new tax types, the revenue of the country has grown way ahead of inflation over the period since then. In other words, if you look, and way ahead of economic growth as well.
But why you don't tell people that you do these things? And allow Nigel Clark to be claiming glory. You should be getting royalties. Look like we have an internet freeze. We're having a conversation with the leader of opposition and the president of the People's National Party, Mark Jefferson Golden. Obviously, we internet freeze up our way because I don't know, we never said that kind of load there, but let's hope that we can get back the current leader because wonderful discussion we are having and you're hearing it because you see, we always say it, the GLP don't talk about
this
period of time. Yes, we lost you when you were telling us about, when I was saying to you why you man,
I don't know, everything was suddenly cut. All right, so I'm back.
Why you don't tell people, say you do these things and allow people to take the credit like them do it?
Well, first of all, I don't really like big up myself them way there, that's not me. But I figure that we have journalists and others who, can speak the truth and tell the story as it should be told. These are not matters that are not known. These are all in the public domain. But
yes,
I guess, you are right that it is something that it's a story that we should tell more.
Of course.
And, So by the end of the 4 years that we were in government under Portia Simpson Miller, we had to bear band with belly, so to speak, by running what they call high primary surplus. In other words, we had to save money out of the budget a lot to pay down the debt and get the thing under control because the thing was unsustainable and we were not credit worthy as a country. Right. So we had to build that back. And by the time we left office, it had gone from the 147 to 115% of GDP in 4 years.
Right.
Which was a remarkable thing. Yeah. And we put it in the law. So there are things called fiscal rules which I was responsible for developing that legislation along with the technocrats in the Ministry of Finance.
What about EPOC?
EPOC was another construct. That was another thing that was developed at that time by Peter Phillips and others, which was essentially saying, look, the society has to make sacrifice to make this thing work. We have to get ourselves out of the hole. So we have an agency, establish an agency or entity which will monitor how the government is doing in meeting the commitments because you have agreed to make sacrifices, unions, banking sector, everybody.
Workers.
So the government has to play its part. And its part was delivering all of the things that we had committed to do, much of which was legislation. So that was my role. My role was making sure every deadline for every piece of legislation that we'd agreed to do was.
Remember to stay tuned to Aromatic Realistic TV. Like and share and follow us over YouTube. When you don't know how much o'clock, we continue to remind the mass that the signature word is art of love. Until then, my people, we chat again. Peace out.